everyone, for people who are here, we're just going to wait for our other presenter. And we should be starting soon.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi. I was having a little technical difficulties. This thing is not my best friend. Okay. So we're here. Welcome back to the Black Girls Chat Room. I'm BB and I'm joined by the lovely Alani.
Hi.
And today we're talking about another very interesting and controversial topic. We'll be discussing blackfishing and reverse passing. So I think before we dive into the discussion, it's important to ground the discussion in some history.
Right.
And perhaps the greatest form that we still have as an example of white people making a mockery of Black people would be the case of Sarah Bartman.
Right.
And she's also known as quote unquote Hottentot Venus. And she was human trafficked and sexually trafficked for years, for most of her adult life. And she was done so because of the shape of her body. So she had large breasts and extremely large buttocks, and that they also described her as having long labias. But essentially, she was foreign to white people, her shape, her figure, and some would even say envious. And in doing so, they casted her and displayed her as a freak show, like you would see at a carnival where you see the bearded lady or something like that. So instead of praising her and appreciating her body, they decided to make fun of her body. And they would have her either naked or dressed in really tight clothing, and she would be on display for people to come up and be able to touch her, to view her as if she was some sort of product and not a person.
Right.
And this is not something that is foreign to us at all.
No.
We've seen it. Again, historically speaking, Sarah Bartman is perhaps the greatest example. So I know you have a little bit of information you wanted to give about blackface.
Yeah, so basically, for some of our viewers who may not know, blackface is literally the act of painting your face black. I mean, when we think of blackface, you'd probably expect from no context to maybe be shades and still a form of mockery. That was not the case. It's simply a midnight black.
Yeah, like what I'm wearing.
Right, like the color of your t-shirt, almost. And it was the idea that this was non-distinguishable between a black person, that you paint your face fully black, then you depict what a black person looks like. And white performers first started painting their faces black to mock enslaved Africans in minstrel shows across the United States. And it's been seen everywhere. I mean, it's seen on show business, in movies, in cartoons even. I mean, there was an episode of Bugs Bunny where he did blackface. It was seen as an art form crossed with a form of mockery, which is highly disturbing in the highest forms, because it's almost trying to twist it to an era of artistry, like we said, and that is dangerous in itself. I mean, we need to remember, it'll become later on important in the episode, the idea of painting your face black and being undistinguishable of black people. But no matter what form blackface was perpetrated in, whether it be theatre or not, we have to remember that it was used as a form of mockery. I mean, to perpetuate negative stereotypes, right? Like, you've got the watermelon boy, lazy criminals, it's always to perpetuate that notion. And a lot of people like to dismiss the concept of blackface by saying that it was acceptable at the time period, or people didn't know any better, which is the highest form of white guilt, if I have ever heard it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the problem with ignoring these details is that they will always come back to haunt us, and they will always reincarnate themselves in modern day form to create the illusion that we have progressed since this, and much more than we actually have. And blackfishing is nothing more than the modern day blackface, which is what we will be discussing today.
Yeah.
So for some of our audience who may not know, blackfishing is when a person, usually social media influencers, it's been seen a lot of artists and personalities in the media, they try to pass as looking black by altering their appearance, whether it be with hair, whether it be skin tone, and the features. I mean, the amount of examples of blackfishing is horrifying, in the sense that the amount of celebrities perpetuating this notion that it's okay. You only have to look at the Kardashians. I mean, a big family. And I don't think I could look at one of them and say that they haven't perpetuated that in a sense, right?
Right, in some way, shape, or form.
100%. And it's interesting with what we say about beauty standards and the way that things have changed, because if we look back in the same sense of Sandra Bland, it was seen to almost be attractive to be pale white, so pale and big, elevated status, right, and class. You're pale, you it exaggerates the notion that you're inside all day, you're not working outside, no room for the sun to hit your skin, right? And you're big, you can feed yourself, you've got a lot of money coming in, so you're spending it on food, blah 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 blah. That's a status update, right? And it's almost, it's so interesting to see how it has altered in today's society, in which it's now a notion of black, but only to an extent, right?
Yeah.
So we're taking big African lips, and we're taking African hair, black hairstyles, but not to the extent of noses, of dark.
No,
it's always a light-skinned, mixed race, like racially ambiguous standard that is seen in blackfishing, and it's that pattern that celebrities keep copying more and more, and it's more dangerous in itself in the way that pop culture and celebrities are growing, in the sense you've got young celebrities like Addison Rae that are just coming to light, copying celebrities like Kim Kardashian and being accused of blackfishing themselves, because they are doing it in the basis that they're copying already established influences, which is extremely dangerous, because not only do you have a generation of celebrities already doing this stuff, you're already raising a new generation of them perpetuating it as well, right?
Absolutely. And then when we also take a look at social media influencers, I know Bad Bobby, Danielle, whatever her name is, right? She's somebody who's obviously been like, I think I remember in a conversation that we've had, didn't she say that something to the effect of like, who wants to be black?
Who wants to be black? Yeah.
Yeah, but sis.
Massive. Obviously you do. Obviously.
Right.
We've been saying that, guys.
Absolutely right.
Ariana Grande as well. We do not talk about her enough, and we dismiss it in the fact that she's an ally for the Black movement, which we will get onto later, and the part that plays in perpetuating blackfishing. But you look at Ariana Grande and you look at the state she was in when her appearance when she got casted in Victorious. She was a pale, light-skinned girl with red hair. Very much. And that worked for her, and that helped her gain her role on Victorious. But then now she's almost been able to flip the switch, where she's becoming racially ambiguous. She almost looks mixed race, light skin, to now help her career and elevate it in the music industry, which at the moment is very much black dominated, and we are the ones heading the charts. And now we've got her almost flipping the switch with that. So it's the fact that people are doing it for when it suits them and when it's boosting their success in the mainstream media, right?
Absolutely. And then it's a lie that they try to continue on and carry on, because there's another social media influencer. I don't know her real name.
I'm
but
actually thinking,
Emma, right,
right.
she's from the UK, yeah. And she was like, it was all over Twitter about how she was
Yeah,
blackfishing, and she tried to claim, no, she just got darker because of the sun. Girl.
look at the fact. Look at the fact. And it's the absolute audacity of these people as well, because we are now in a day and age, like the Sarah Baartman case is really interesting in the sense that it is one of the rare cases where we had documentation of what happened. We've got a cast of her figure, we've got diagrams, because that's how fascinated Europeans were with her. But now we're in the day and age where everything is documented online. And all you have to do is scroll to the bottom of someone's profile to see what they previously looked like. So
Right.
so you can scroll to the bottom of this girl's profile to see that she is a white woman, and then you scroll to the top, and it's like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah.
In the plot of the movie, right? What happened?
Literally.
It's
like we missed a step,
right,
because
you can see the change in it, and it's so disregarding for black women, because once again it's picking and choosing when it suits you. We have to be black 24/7 all year round, 365 days a year, and you can
right.
when and it suits your career and when you're benefiting from it. I mean, we talked about Danielle Bregoli. It's exactly the same thing. Selena Gomez has been guilty of it. Nikita Dragon, yeah. Adele. I mean, she was considered a major ally to the Black Lives Matter movement, but as of recently, for people who may have not seen, it was everywhere in the UK, I know. But she, to almost commemorate Notting Hill Carnival being cancelled this year, she dressed up in a Jamaican bikini, so it had the Jamaican flag on it, and she had bantu knots in her hair.
Yep.
And nothing about it felt right. Even from the image, she looked uncomfortable. But you're putting this out online, that's your responsibility. But in the same sense, even though she's proved to be an ally for the Black Lives Matter movement, we cannot disregard that she's still guilty of culturally appropriating here. It's not
absolutely
any form.
And people tend to do that. They tend to confuse the notion of allyship with having to be complicit in people's poor behavior.
Right, 100%. And it's always flipped over as well. Whenever it's someone that people want to defend, it's always flipped over. Oh, well, black women straighten their hair. Oh, well, we wear straight wigs. Sis, there's a real difference between cultural appropriation and cultural assimilation. I mean, it is for the benefit of black women. If we were to go, so let's take a black woman going to a job interview, yeah, and the difference between her wearing a straight lace front wig or straightening her hair, and the difference between her going to that job interview with cornrows or with her afro out, sadly, could mean the difference between her getting a job or her not. And you're telling me the difference between a trend and gaining public limelight is the same as that? Absolutely not. Like,
it's not. It's completely different. Like,
it's just not,
there's a means of survival.
Right, exactly. And it's survival. And as sad as it may seem, it's the difference between what allows us to succeed in this world. If it means doing that for one day to get a job, I mean, we've all done it, right? Like in the interviews, the process of employment. It's just one example that can be the difference between getting profit and putting food on the table than not. And I mean, it's sad, but it's something that is just completely unbalanceable with the argument of, oh, it's, well, you wear straight hair, and nobody wears white bundles. Let's just make that clear.
I have, in all of the bundles I've purchased, none of the descriptions said white girl, European. No. It was definitely like Malaysian or Peruvian. Stop playing with me. Like, come on. I have never wanted to buy white hair bundles.
Not one time. Exactly.
That has never been the case.
Right. And it's again, the key problems of it all. I mean, there's a seamless link between cultural appropriation and blackfishing and the problems that it causes as well. I mean, becoming racially ambiguous yourself, white people have the choice to be able to braid their hair and then take it out and then tan and then wash it off at the end of the day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like we said, it does not balance, and it's one thing acceptable for black women and one thing that isn't, right?
Absolutely. And it's like going back to your idea of cultural assimilation versus
Right.
cultural appropriation. Khloe Kardashian taking a picture of Beyonce to her plastic surgeon to have that be her new face
Right.
is not cultural assimilation.
Right.
That is her trying to up her brand because she knows Beyonce is popping. So if I look
Absolutely.
like Beyonce, I can be popping too.
And it's that picking and choosing between, oh, in 2008 it was beneficial for me to be a white skinned blonde girl, but in 2020 it's beneficial for me to pretend to be a light skinned black girl.
Yeah, with a big butt
Right.
and big breasts
Right.
and accentuate all of the desirable features. But I don't see you widening your nose.
No.
I do see you increasing your lip size
Right.
because that's
Exactly.
but like I don't see you doing all of the necessities of being a black person. You're picking and choosing.
Exactly, and it completely disregards the experiences that we as black women go through, because it's you like Lavonda Johnson says, they want our crowns but not the thorns that come with our story, and it's sort of that you're picking when it's applicable for you to use these types of things, right?
Right. And again, we already know the history. Like since enslavement, you've been buying and selling black bodies. And now you're buying and selling black features.
This is it with the profit as well. We have to remember that we're in a day and age where you can make money from posting your face online. I mean, you look at TikTok stars, you look at influencers. All you have to do is, for some people, post your face online, sponsorship deals, money. So we are gaining money off black features, black hairstyles, black skin tone, and that's before we've even begun to pay reparations for subjects like slavery. So you're just piling up the debt that you owe the black community, and
you have no intention to repay it.
Right.
No intention.
There is no intention to do so. Absolutely.
And when we think of the idea of cultural assimilation versus cultural appropriation, for me, that brings to the forefront reverse passing, right? And I already know we're going to have some critics or some trolls that's going to come on and be like, well, black people were passing too. So I'll address it, and I'm not going to spend that much time on it. But black people were passing for survival.
Right.
It was incredibly difficult to gain employment, or incredibly difficult to have a peaceful life as a black person. So if a light-skinned black person, a very fair-skinned black person, decided that they wanted to live amongst the white race, they would go the full Monty. They're divorcing their family. They're coming up with stories as to how their families died, as to who they are, where they come from. There is no more of their past life. They have completely changed. Like, their identity is different. And for you to compare somebody who divorced their family, left them behind, killed them off because they just want to live in peace, to somebody who wants to profit more and have more influence over people and have more billboards, is absolutely ridiculous. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Passing and reverse passing are two different things.
1000% is incomparable. And I mean, it's just the absolute, it's in many places the absolute audacity of the subject, right? I mean, we talked about it previously. There's a mixture of narcissism but insecurity that comes with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's right.
And it absolutely is. I feel like it's more of a selfish thing. Something's going on with the lighting on my phone, but I feel like it's more of a selfish thing and a narcissistic thing. Like, you want to appear a certain way, so you decide to do that. But at the end of the day, you can go home and, like we said, you can take that off. I cannot do that. I cannot come home at the end of my day and wash off my blackness. I go to bed, I wake up, and I leave my place every single day as a Black woman, period. And it's disrespectful to come here and be like, oh, I'm going to assume this identity for my personal benefit.
Right. And it's reaping all the benefits, but ignoring all the hardships and not getting involved when and so it's you choose, right?
Right. It's being able to tote that line of privilege. And I cannot do that. So in reverse passing, again, we can go back to history. This is nothing new. There was an Irish woman named Marie Gilbert. She might be one of the first to reverse pass, right? She left her country in the Netherlands, and because she was escaping an abusive husband, okay, with reason, but she could have escaped her abusive husband and changed her identity so that she wouldn't be found in order to, and still be herself.
And still be yourself.
Right. And what she did was assume the identity of an African person, and that's problematic. So more recent examples, I'm sure everyone already knows about this. Rachel Dolezal from 2015, white woman from Spokane, Washington. Well, she's like originally from Montana or something like that. But white woman from Spokane, Washington, inserted herself in the NAACP, inserted herself in schools teaching Black studies, portrayed herself as a Black woman. Came out later that she's not a Black woman, she's actually white, two very white parents. And I'm not going to spend too much time on her because I really just don't care to. But more recent examples of this would be Jennifer Benton from Indianapolis, Indiana. This is a woman who as they and them, but I'm not going to respect her pronouns because she didn't respect my identity. So I don't feel the need to respect hers. So she is a woman who portrayed herself to be a Black woman as well, inserted herself into the NAACP in that chapter in Indiana as well, and claims to be somebody who's an activist for the Black community. She came out and like an Instagram post or a tweet and like apologized and was like, oh, I know this was so harmful, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have Jessica Krug, who I am personally offended by because she is in the world of academia, as am I. So she is a Jewish white woman from Kansas City. And she portrayed herself to be a Black woman for many years, like for most of her adult life, as she claims. She came out in a Medium blog post and said that she had been pretending to be a Black woman, and she was doing so. She knows how violent and harmful it is. I will say that the difference between Dolezal and these other two women, Jennifer Benton and Jessica Krug, is that Rachel Dolezal, in her twisted mind, fully believes that she is a Black woman. Like, she genuinely identifies as a Black woman, and that is her personal belief. But with the other two, you come out and you say that you know it was wrong to pretend to be a Black woman, and you continue to do it anyway for many years, so long as it benefited you. Right.
So long as it benefits you. That is the key statement.
And that's like the small difference. But my big issue with Krug is that you took up space that was for a Black person.
For the Black.
Right. And you're teaching Black people about Black people.
Black people. This is the absolute audacity of these people, though, in the sense that the curriculum, the standard curriculum, although saying that the teachers have every opportunity to teach Black history, it does not happen. We just don't see it. And the absolute audacity to go into a Black space and create perpetrate such a crime. It's a crime. I mean,
it is. You stole.
Right.
You stole my face. You stole my skin. Right. You stole my spot. Essentially, because at the time that she was hired, there was a minimal amount of African American candidates who had a PhD in history at the time.
Right.
So if I'm in a department seeking an African American individual and you come and portray yourself as an African American individual, knowing that you're not, you're stealing that space away from somebody that you claim to have genuine interest for.
Exactly. And it's fake
literally
as well, like the performativeness of it, and to release on social media, I'm so sorry, it feels like asking for clout. And you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things you do for a general apology. We were speaking about it previously. You want to genuinely apologize for people, show the money, show
where is it
you gained from it, and give back out to the Black community. Simple.
Absolutely. Because in my opinion, the only way for you to receive backlash, you can't determine how I feel.
Right.
Hey. So don't tell me I should be angry. Don't tell me I should be saddened. Right. Like, I will feel how I feel personally. Don't make my judgment of you for you. And I feel like that's what she was doing in her Medium post. Like, she was kind of trying to victimize herself while trying to apologize. It was a half apology.
Right.
And for somebody to claim that they have such interest in African American people, such interest in African people, and genuine interest in wanting their liberation, what you did was ghettoize Black people. Because the stories you told were narratives that white people like. It's big money to make Black people look real poor and go from rags to riches.
And you're adding the stereotype of, oh, I'm from the hood, I got out, my mum was an alcoholic, like, it's perpetuating that negative stereotype. Yet you're claiming to be somebody who's for the movement.
How is it positive? Exactly. How is it positive to say that your mother is an alcoholic or that you grew up from the inner city in the Bronx? Like, sis, the only Black success story is not from hood to riches. There are Black success stories of people who come from prominent communities and they just elevate. So you can't tell me that you genuinely have the best interest Black people at heart when you committed such an atrocity. It is literally like she's in academia, right? As an academic, I understand that if I plagiarize a paper, my academic credibility is ruined. And I'm not moving forward.
This is the whole concept of plagiarism as well. I mean, we were discussing earlier on the subject of Katy Perry, I think, and was it Taylor Swift? Somebody copied somebody's song.
Katy Perry.
Right, a melody or a bridge. There was plagiarism in that sense, and the world went absolutely crazy at her. I mean, Twitter attacks. It was, come up with your original content. You're an artist, you should be producing your own, you shouldn't be copying people. Yet with subjects like blackfishing, with subjects like cultural appropriation, we don't have the same response to it. How comes we are allowing people to plagiarize in one form of the word but not the other? I mean, once again, It's not an equal playing field, and it doesn't equal up.
Right, because you plagiarized my identity.
Right.
That's a bigger crime. Exactly. But we have more energy.
If not more, right?
No. We have more energy to support creatives than we have energy to support the Black community.
The Black community, absolutely.
Where most of the creatives come from. Because let's not forget.
Oh, we're just buffering a little bit. Oh, you're back. We can't hear you though. Hold on, speak. No, we can't hear you at the moment. We'll try leaving tone back. Sorry about this, guys. Let's see. What we'll do. Going up. She will join back on. Here we are. Just a few technical difficulties here.
All right, I'm back. Okay. All right. I was like, oh no, I'm losing you. I didn't know what was going on. But
technical difficulties. Like you were.
Right. So like I'm saying, like you can plagiarize the Black identity, right, and that's okay, but you can't plagiarize a paper. Right. It's like you said, it's just an imbalance, and it's crazy to me because, like you said, she is essentially a parasite.
Yeah, and she's like you said, she's like a figure of academia, and in the academic world, what is the hierarchy of the crimes that you can commit? Plagiarism, you know, like passing off an essay that's
right.
That's something that can get you kicked out. Simple as.
Absolutely.
And that she's been the sort of the role model in this instance and carried out the same thing but in a different format. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, and it doesn't make sense to me either. And I feel like all of her accolades, all of her books need to be ripped off the shelves. Right. All of the money that was spent on her and allowed her to be able to do her research and produce her research needs to be stripped away from her. Absolutely. Because not only, and I call her a parasite because she literally, I feel like she took away from the culture more than she gave to the culture. 100%. And not only in ghettoizing our narratives by creating she had like 3 or 4 fake stories and fake origins of where she grew up. And like I said, none of them were, oh, I came from upstate New York or from like Massachusetts and I just, you know, I worked my way navigated my way through academia. No, you wanted to be from the ghetto. You wanted to have parents who were drug addicts. You wanted to keep on these negative stereotypes. And at the end of the day, like, not only did she do that, but on top of it, she was very questioning of actual Black and brown women's work. Right. And I could only imagine being one of her colleagues at the time and sensing that something is off about her, and having a white woman pretend to be me, A, and then B, have the arrogance, right, and then B, have the arrogance to try to tell me I'm wrong about my research and about my contributions to the Black studies. Like, you must be out of your entire mind. And like we said, it's just the absolute audacity and like bravery of these people. Can you imagine as a Black woman trying to pass off a same type of stunt as that? It's just something that it wouldn't pass at all. And it's the responsibility that we have as Black women that we're not allowed to get away with this same stuff. No. And white women, I feel like, are very clear. And in particular, like, I just have a strong distaste for this woman because now, again, you're in academia. Right. You're a professor. Right. So when we talk about influences and we talk about the amount of influence they have, I can only think back to the times of I've been touched by every single teacher, every single professor. I have gained something from them. And for you to sit on your pedestal and pretend to be something and someone that you're not, and to try to put information, probably false information, into like nurturing students' minds is an egregious offense.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous and it's crazy.
Right. And for people to, once again, put money into wanting to be educated, put money into wanting to gain knowledge from you, and for you to sit back and almost like throw that back in people's faces, it's mind
Is it like, I would love to ask her, what was your purpose of the blog post? Because I heard the only reason she even came out and said anything is because she was about to be outed anyway. So you are going to continue this narrative and this BS as long as you could, for whenever you could, until you were going to be outed.
And then you outed yourself.
You're not sorry.
No. It's just
you're not sorry at all.
Right. Like we said, like we were speaking about earlier, I mean, there's a difference between just apologizing and then putting profit into something and actually meaning it. You know, I mean, like we were talking about people who have had scandals in the past with like blackfishing, N-word gay, you know, it's the posting the black square, it's the posting a little quote going, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm so for the black community, da 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 da. Okay, let's see the money then. See the money and pay back all the people that you've scammed off and all the opportunities you've taken from the black community. Simple as. I mean,
because that's exactly what you did. You're a fraud. You're no better than a scammer that goes online and steals people's credit information. Right. Because what you did was steal my biological information and try to make it yours.
Right.
And I feel like it boils down to narcissism, vanity, and power. Because you're a mediocre, trash bag, no good, below average white woman, and you wanted to feel powerful. You wanted to feel like a success. So what you did was enter into a community in which you saw weakness, and you found your way in, and you slithered in like a little serpent, and you stole my identity to try and make yourself feel better. You're garbage.
Absolutely.
You are literally garbage. All three of them. Rachel Dolezal, Jennifer Benton, and especially Jessica Krug, because you had potential minds in your hands. And that is possibly the most irresponsible, violent, heinous act she could have committed.
She had a responsibility and she failed the people that she claimed to advocate for so much. And it boils down to one of the many effects of blackfishing, of cultural appropriation, that it's not just a hairstyle, it's not just, oh, I just wanted to be tan that day. It's not just that, because it's deeper. Right, you're stripping people's identity, and I mean, it's just gatekeeping blackness, right?
Yeah, but we're not the gatekeepers.
Right.
You again, and this we're going back to history, right? We could talk about the one drop rule. And it's interesting because the one drop rule is not even something that's global. It's something only in the United States, which is something I didn't know about. So this rule was instituted in, I want to say 1924. There was legislation passed where if you are a person of mixed race, or if you were anybody who had any drop black blood, you are considered a black person. And it was instituted as a means to keep as many enslaved people as possible. So you're allowed to define our blackness, commodify our blackness, now deem our blackness, all while gatekeeping whiteness.
Right. And it keeps
that, like, the audacity.
Right. And it keeps that sense of white purity as well, in the sense of if you are not 100% white, you're not part of the hierarchy in a sense. But it's sort of been flipped to the modern day version of people use, oh, well, my great grandma's auntie's uncle was black, so I can say the N-word, so I can wear box braids, so I can cornrow my hair. How weird is it that dynamic has shifted so much to once again work in favor of white people, right?
Right. And we're complicit in it as well, because
100%.
like when it comes to artists like Mariah Carey or, you know, another light skinned person, we'll be like, well, we're claiming that. Michael Jackson,
Yeah,
we're claiming that.
yeah.
Because, you know, one drop.
Right,
Like,
right.
I don't feel like that's something that should be paraded.
No,
It was institutionalized to keep us in a bad space.
right, right. And it's just, I mean, once again, we come back to this idea of picking and choosing when your blackness works for you or when your whiteness works for you, in a sense, because it's also dismissing that and
Absolutely.
pushing that to the side and being like, oh, like we talked about with the featureism, it's the wanting lip fillers, but anything to keep my Eurocentric nose, right?
Right. Exactly, exactly. And it has effects beyond just, you know what I'm saying, just beauty standards. As you
Right,
talked about,
right,
people are gaining monetary benefits,
right,
they're gaining social benefits
right.
from it, whereas we're not. Again, we're getting the short end of the stick. And one of the things that I had noticed in my research about Jessica Krug was apparently white Africanists in like the late 90s, like 1998, they were complaining because they felt like they were at a disadvantage because they weren't black. And my thing is like, good. I'm glad you know how it
No,
feels.
no,
But
no.
right. But uh, also to be very clear, all of my history professors before I entered into an Afroecology program have been white
Right,
because I have been learning white history.
right,
So
exactly.
yes, my black history should be taught by a black person.
Oh,
That only makes
a
sense.
100%. It's the absolute audacity to go into black spaces once again and want to Eurocentricize it. I mean, I remember my dad once telling me the story of him going to a Black History course, and one of the students was white, and he goes, "Oh, it's always going to be." I didn't realize it was all going to be about black people.
Uh,
You're in a black
it's a black history
You're in a
course.
Black History course. You know what I mean? It's once we said it's wanting to gatekeep everything we have, and this is why we keep coming back to that notion of blackfishing, of cultural appropriation, because it's more than what it comes out to be. I mean, there's so much history behind it, like cornrows, for example. Maps of being able to escape plantations. I mean, it's so much deeper than surface level.
Right. And the thing is, and I'm going to say this, I was like, maybe I shouldn't say this anyway. I think that things are so much more deeper in African culture across the board, spiritually speaking, and white people don't necessarily have that.
Right.
So they don't understand why it's so important and so consequential that we hold on to
Right.
these artifacts.
Right.
Because literally, even though it's a hairstyle, it's an artifact of our history,
And
of
the few
things
ones,
that our ancestors have been through.
100%, and one of the few ones that we've still got left for ourselves. I mean, even the topic of history, like we said, if you're black and you go to a predominantly white school, it's not guaranteed that you're going to learn about your history. Even if you go to a predominantly white school, it's not guaranteed you're going to learn about your history. It's one of those few things that we have to grasp hold of to almost be secure of our sense of identity in as well, you know what I mean? And I know we were talking a lot about mixed fetishization and the cause that infiltrates in identity as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a hard topic because, like, let's say we've got a white woman who decides to have a baby with a black guy, yeah, but then
Mm-hmm.
the almost aesthetic of it is we want a light skinned baby to come out with blue eyes and greasy hair, and then when that doesn't happen, we cry, and it's like, oh no, I'm gonna have to straighten her hair because I don't know how to deal with it. Oh,
Yep.
so that's another level of her identity you've stripped away. She's not going to learn about her history at school, so you're stripping that away by disregarding that as well. I mean, I saw a video. I think it was either on TikTok or on Instagram, and it was of a white woman who she had like a green screen background, and she was like pointing out about how Asian babies were so cute, and she was like, "Oh my God, these Asian babies are so cute." Next minute, videoed herself on a plane, videoed herself meeting an Asian guy she'd met online, obviously got with, and then videoed herself pregnant, then with her new Asian baby.
That's disgusting.
There's no other word for it. I mean, it's almost like we're buying like little pets and breeding
Right.
to say, look what I've got. But then when we're then stripping that identity away from it, because you're not telling me that that white girl taught that Asian baby anything about her heritage, and she won't.
No.
It's disgusting, and it once again brings us back to the effects of picking and choosing, right?
Yeah. And I think when we look at situations like blackfishing and like reverse passing, I hear a lot of people, and I've seen like on the comments or whatever, a lot of people say that, oh, well, you know, it's imitation, imitation is flattery, or I hear that people say maybe it's a sickness. And you know what? It is psychosis, just like racism, white supremacy
Right.
is. Because for you to hate yourself so much that you feel like the only way you can be powerful is to assume the identity of somebody else in a completely different race is absolutely crazy. We're not even talking like, we can talk about mental issues. We can talk about body dysmorphic disorder. We can talk about bulimia and anorexia and not liking yourself. But my friend, you literally stole from the people that you claim to want to help.
Right.
That's gotta be the definition
And
of being insane.
and it's the audacity of it all, because you've got people posting the black squares, but then 1 minute, I mean, I find it very hard to find a black woman who has not had the experience of a white girl go up to her and go, "Oh my God, we're the same color. Oh my God,
Absolutely.
I'm almost as dark as you." And it's like this. It's the same level of picking and choosing. Like, okay, so your tan comes with 400 years of oppression too. Like, you tell me.
And when we talk about white women and their duality of oppression,
Right.
it's important to note that they're consciously making a decision.
Right.
When these three white women, all three of them consciously made that decision, they all consciously decided to be light-skinned black women. Nobody went the full Monty. Nobody was like, oh, I'm going to be Martina Big from the UK, who completely darkened her skin and was like, oh, when I have babies, they're going to be black babies. Like, not that I agree with her in any way, shape, or form, but dang, if you're gonna go there, go there.
Go there.
Don't do it because you still want to tote that line of privilege.
Right, exactly. It's once again picking and choosing, and it's, oh my God, it's just the recognition of it, right? Like, I mean, I know you did some research into Jen the Pen, right, from Love and Hip Hop, right? And this girl,
yes,
the audacity.
So let me speak on Jen the Pen.
Go ahead.
Real quick. Jen the Pen is, I don't know if she still is, but she was a radio host at the time. She's a white woman. This was like season 3 or 4 of Love and Hip Hop New York. So this is going like 7 years ago, like 2013. And in one of the episodes, she was in an argument with another radio host named Rocky, who is, I don't know if she's a black woman, but she's not a white woman.
Right.
Okay. So she's arguing back and forth with Jen the Pen, and she says to Jen the Pen, good luck getting hot, as in like good luck getting on, because their collaboration wasn't working. And Jen the Pen looks at her, and I kid you not, with the straightest face and says, I'm white, honey, it will get done. Just like that, okay? With the straightest face. And I remember years ago seeing that episode and being annoyed by it, but not being really too conscious of like the severe implications
Right.
of somebody making a statement like that.
Right.
But for her to be a white woman and assert her privilege in such a way and throw it in a Black or brown woman's face in the way she did, all that tells me is that you're naturally violent and you naturally know and are conscious of the decisions that you're making,
And
because you know how to get on and how not to.
And the absolute audacity of it, in the sense of you're at the height of the public limelight. Who knows how many millions, thousands of millions are being involved in your show, and you're spreading those ideas over. So a little white girl hears that and goes, "Mummy, I had that amount of privilege," and God forbid she's going to school spreading those type of stuff.
And she comes across the wrong Black girl, and that little Black girl puts her in her little white girl place. They both get sent to the principal's office. Who's going to be punished? The little Black girl.
No surprise.
Even because that little white girl, she knew she had her privilege, so it wasn't a problem for me to step to anybody because I know my back is covered.
And these are the ideas that people at the height of our media are perpetuating. Dangerous.
Yep.
Completely dangerous. I mean,
right. So even when we look at the notion of colorism,
right,
people like to try to downgrade colorism to just like standards of beauty and just like familial makeup, which is very important.
Right.
It's very important. As we just talked about the white girl with her Asian boyfriend, like familial makeup is very important. But colorism affects far more than just who I'm laying next to at night.
Right.
Colorism affects what job I can get, how much my income can be, what house I can purchase. Like, and it's not just you and me looking at it as two Black women, but it's also how white people, the gatekeepers that we have to come across, identify us.
1000%, because it's the way in which, when you look at blackfishing, there are very few that take on the dark-skinned appearance. It's always, let me see if I can pass off as being mixed race. Let me see if I can pass off as being light-skinned. Let me make my lips a bit bigger, but I'm going to keep my Eurocentric nose. It's always that section, and that's what is perpetuating colorism more, right? It's completely dangerous.
Yeah.
You've got one topic of blackfishing and cultural appropriation, but you're feeding into a completely other being colorism, which branches off into many other things that eventually leads to the dismantlement of Black women once again. And
again,
I mean, it's always this narrative, isn't it, of oh my goodness, yeah, colorism, like the dark skinned girl at my school used to bully me and did this. No, I'm sorry, but if you're a light skinned girl, if you're a mixed race girl, colorism benefits you as racism benefits white people, and you have to accept that. And in the instance of blackfishing, people wanting to be you and people imitating the mixed race, biracial, light skinned appearance is benefiting you as well. And in the sense if they're using that blueprint and taking that from you, then they're not going to need you no more, sis. I mean,
at all.
They're gonna, you know what I mean? Like,
no.
Speaking about even if you look at media text in films and stuff like that, we talked about The Hate U Give and them replacing the dark skinned girl in the book with light skinned actor Angela. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, people keep blackfishing. We could have a white woman playing that part who is believed to be biracial, light skinned, because blackfishing has got to that extent. I mean, it's dangerous for you as well, right?
And you know what? And just talking about that, it just reminded me of another situation with colorism that is like insane to me. But the Nina Simone documentary or film they casted Zoe Saldana.
Right.
And they had to put a prosthetic nose on her and darken her skin.
Right.
And you don't think colorism has anything to do with the fact that they didn't just choose somebody like Michaela Cole, a dark-skinned Black woman who is representative of Nina Simone already?
Right.
Naturally. Like, you literally, these social media influencers and these women have almost made it so that you can use Black people without Black people.
Exactly.
Zoe Saldana, I don't even think she identified as Black for like the longest time. And I still don't think she does assert her Blackness. Like, she's very much so, I'm mixed race or I'm whatever other race that she is. So it's like, you can, what you're saying, the overarching message is that Black experiences and Black aesthetic can exist without the Black person.
Black people.
So you're essentially asserting the extinction of Black people,
of a race, and how
upon like
that you have almost milked the cow until it is dry, and now you're being able to form that in yourself, right? I mean, you've built your countries, your governments, your schools, your institutions on the back of Black people, and now it's let me replace everything they stand for as well. Like, I can be that, and we don't need them anymore. How dangerous!
Exactly. It's disgusting, and to be like clear, we're some of us are complicit in this, because like I said earlier, like especially when it came to Jessica Krug and Rachel Dolezal, a lot of the Black people who were defending them were Black men.
Absolutely.
Even though I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm bashing Black men, but it's a fact.
Right.
Is Black men and is light-skinned Black people.
Right.
And to me, all that does is tell me that, again, you're aware of your privilege. Colorism does not affect light-skinned people.
Absolutely.
It doesn't affect you negatively.
No.
I'm sorry that a dark-skinned Black girl pulled your hair or beat you up when you were young. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you. However, I need you to recognize that
systematic.
Exactly. And I need you to recognize that if the both of us, me and a light-skinned Black woman, walked into an interview, you're more likely to get the job because you're seen as more desirable, as more approachable.
Right.
And then that kind of brings us into a small conversation about our civil rights leaders. Right. Why was it so easy for Rachel Dolezal, Jennifer Benton, and Jessica Krug to enter our spaces? Because we do tend to push light-skinned African American or light-skinned Black people to the forefront of our protests. Look at Shaun King. I'm not downplaying. And I'm not downplaying any of the work he's done. I think he is a great guy. Like, I follow his stuff. However, let's take a look at it. Let's look at Angela Davis. Again, not downplaying it.
So sorry to interrupt you, but we are coming to a close in the sense that we have 23 seconds remaining.
Oh no!
Stop. So we're going to do a really quick outro. Thank you very much for joining in, guys. Please comment your responses below and let us know if you'd like a part 2 or anything to this. Like, it's something that we can delve into deep a lot. Thank you for joining in. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much, guys.
Yes.